Alright, YouTube. Gary Johnson was doing pretty well there for a while. He reframed his position on the TPP. He said, yeah, in retrospect, it's crony capitalism. I could have told you that months ago, Gary. You should hire me as a campaign advisor or something. Guarantee you'd be doing better than you are now. Already doing pretty well, by the way, but unfortunately, after this particular diatribe, I don't know if that'll stay the case. The Libertarian Party, if it wants to be a legitimate third party, which I hope that it becomes. I want it to be. I want it to be the main party within the United States. I'm tired of corporatists. I'm tired of neoliberals. I'm tired of statism. I'm tired of all this nonsense. People having their organic gardens removed by, like, municipal government. People can't catch rainwater and drink it. People can't sell unpasteurized milk to somebody who wants to get a stomach bug. Okay, I'm tired of all that. I wish the libertarian movement very well, and I am a libertarian. But Gary Johnson's comments on illegal immigration were seen as nothing more than pandering. Now, I'll say this, in his defense, he is pandering. It's very, very obvious what he's doing. I will tell you exactly what Johnson and Weld have cooked up, and this is why he chose Weld. Weld's the brains behind this. It's not Gary Johnson. Now, Weld is a Republican. Not a particularly right-wing Republican, of course. He came out in favor of the Obamacare mandate, which is retarded, by the way. I think that was cut apart a little bit. I think he was talking about if Obamacare will be continued, then it has to have the mandate in it to survive. But that doesn't matter. I mean, if a quote can be taken out of context in that great ease, probably a problem. To tell the truth. Of course, he was more anti-gun than most Republicans as well, which is really funny. He's given that sort of stuff up. He's converted to libertarianism. And I do believe, by the way, I do believe that his conversion to it was more or less pure. I do believe Gary Johnson is trying to simply... I don't think he has any illusions of winning. And so what he's trying to do is build a voter base before he inevitably loses. He's trying to get as much support behind the libertarian movement as he can. What's the easiest way to do this? I have said now, for literally months, that Trump's support is hardened. He has a significant core of the American voting public that will not abandon him. It wouldn't matter if he completely reversed everything, as long as he phrased his reversal well enough, they'd give him a pass because they've gone beyond ideology. They don't care. They're not partisan Republicans anymore. The Republican movement right now is essentially dead as far as the old guard Republicans. Nobody took the Bushes of the party and the Romneys and the McCains seriously anyway. They never cared. None of those people spoke well enough to get people into an uproar to start with. They were all a bunch of corporate shills, number two, and people woke up to the sad reality that they're not even really conservatives. So why the hell would they give a crap about them? Trump, on the other hand, has taken that, distilled the essence of that anger and malaise into a campaign, and built an enormous core of hardened support. It would be impossible for Gary Johnson to pander to the right and say, oh yeah, well, we're further right than Trump is, and so you should vote for us because of economic issues. They're not even worried about economic issues largely right now, other than free trade deals, which Gary Johnson unhelpfully fucked himself with for several months by pretending that he had read the TPP and that it was actually a free trade deal. So what's he doing? He's going after the extremely weak, extraordinarily vulnerable, and extremely soft support-backed Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton's core of support is extremely small. There aren't that many people that are truly excited to cast a ballot for Hillary. Most Hillary fans boil down to people who dislike her less than they dislike Trump, which, by the way, I believe will change drastically before November. I do believe that at the debates, as he continues to rephrase his views, he verbally annihilates her probably, and Hillary is rocked by at least one more promised WikiLeaks dump. I believe her campaign will be crushed underfoot, and Trump will end up winning by a significant margin. Maybe not a true landslide, but a significant enough margin so that it'll be clear and beyond reproach who has won the election. It'll be similar probably to Obama's margin of victory in 2008. A fairly good victory. I do not also believe that the Republicans will lose the House. They may lose the Senate. But it won't really matter long term. In the midterms, they're likely to gain it back, so the Democrats' gains there they wouldn't matter, essentially. What he's doing is he's recognized, and Bill Weld probably manufactured this idea, that if they pretend to out-left Hillary Clinton, because the Green Party is not viable, which is clearly the case, Jill Stein doesn't do anything. The Green Party is like the libertarian movement 20 years ago. Nobody gives a fuck about the Green Party. There may come a day at which the Green Party's socialism light attracts more attention from a voting population, a core of supporters. Right now is not obviously their time. Gary Johnson speaks more ably than Jill Stein. Jill Stein is also a freak loony who is an anti-vaxxer who thinks that Wi-Fi causes cancer. So I don't think most people take her seriously. There's no core that she can build. The partisan Democrats are on board with Hillary. Yeah, it's a small number of people at this point. The independent voting base has surged in size. But it's there. Partisan Republicans, what few remain, back Trump. The populist and nativists and alt-right back Trump. The I hate Trump. Clinton is, I guess, okay and kind of sane by comparison. People back Clinton. The libertarian movement and a lot of disenfranchised never-Trump Republicans are backing Johnson, but he wants to expand it. What's the easiest way? Pretend to out-left Hillary. Because there are millions of burnouts in this country, former Bernie bros, now burnouts, who realized Bernie Sanders was a sellout anyway, which he is. He's actively campaigning for someone he called unqualified, for a corporate shill war hawk named Hillary Clinton. He's obviously a retarded sellout. He'll never get my vote again if he even bothers to run for office, and I don't think that he would win if he ran anyway at this point. He's pissed off a large proportion of Vermont's population because he didn't keep it weird enough. He should have fucking known better. He should have eaten more Ben & Jerry's, refused to endorse Hillary, and just disappeared back into the mountains and licked his wounds. That's what a sane person would have done. He instead chose to endorse Hillary, which was the worst possible move that he could have made. He would have been better off saying, Clinton is so corrupt, I'm supporting Trump at this point. It would have been hilarious to watch the reaction from the media. Clinton's support being soft, it is malleable. Johnson is trying to carve off chunks of that support. Hillary Clinton's immigration proposals look right-leaning compared to what Gary Johnson is presenting. Hillary Clinton is a war hawk. Gary Johnson says, well, I don't want any more wars. Smoke weed every day. Hillary Clinton wants to keep the drug war going. He says, oh, I'd decriminalize most of these like softer drugs and pot should be legal. Just tax it or maybe not even have a tax. And so Gary Johnson, because economic issues don't matter, there's no way for the libertarian movement legitimately to go after the Republican voting base. But that helps them with the Democrats. See, the Democrats don't really care about the economic side either. They're caring about foreign relations, immigration especially, and things like that. The Libertarian Party is further left on those issues than the Democrats are. So he's chosen single-mindedly to focus on them. This is also why, by the way, it seemed odd to people at the time. Why did Johnson come out and say, oh, Hillary, she's a great servant of the public. Obama's a great statesman. While simultaneously berating Trump, saying, oh, he's a racist, he's a bully, he's a fucking pussy and stuff. Why would they do that? They're trying to ingratiate themselves to leftists. That being said, and I will say this, I can no longer back Gary Johnson, because even though his idea is good for the growth of the libertarian movement, what you're going to get in the Libertarian Party as the result of this are a bunch of people who haven't actually adopted libertarianism, think that it's just a variety of anarcho-syndicalism or something, and join up and overrun the party. Good fucking going. So you've just cracked the Libertarian Party apart. So I can no longer support him. Not because I don't believe in libertarianism, I do. Not because I don't like the Libertarian Party, because I do. But Gary Johnson, while I originally thought he was a pragmatic libertarian that would hold to at least the core principles of libertarianism, while attempting to grow the libertarian base organically, which is the proper way to do it if you want a movement that is actually coherent, keeps to those ideals and doesn't see them denigrated, he has instead chosen to turn it into a corporatist movement, which is exactly what it will become. You're going to get millions of very young, essentially socialist individuals who will hear what Bill Weld said about the Obamacare mandate, hear what Johnson has said about immigration and similar issues, and they'll essentially think of them as more gun-friendly versions of Bernie Sanders, turning the libertarian movement from a small government, limited government movement of fiscal conservatives into a left libertarian movement which defeats the purpose. It defeats the purpose of libertarianism. You can have all the liberty in the world socially, and if you don't have fiscal liberty, it means nothing. And you sure as hell won't have a free market, one of the backbones of the libertarian movement. What would be the purpose in me continuing to support this individual? So that being said, I've got to leave off feeling the Johnson again. This is the last straw. His choosing of Bill Weld, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, well, decent. I was fine with Gary Johnson being the nominee. I briefly got off for a few weeks only because of, I can't remember what it was actually that got me. I think it was immigration and ISIS in general, if I remember correctly. Can't even remember. I was kind of tipsy at the time that I made that video, honestly. That's why I was ranting a bit. But no, I can't support him at this point. So I'm going to re-endorse Trump. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I realize he's pandering too, obviously. But the core paleocon populist message that he's bringing forth, I believe those are his honest views. I honestly, at this point, he might be more of a libertarian than Johnson. It's clear he doesn't care about gay marriage. He hasn't said anything about it since prompted to. He doesn't care about abortion. He hasn't made it a platform of his campaign. Doesn't apparently care. He's already got the evangelicals on board. He's already fooled them, so he doesn't give a fuck about them anymore. I don't give a fuck about them either. I'm not a moral statist. I believe that he would govern with populism. Now, I've got to frame this in this. I can't back Jill Stein under any circumstances. She's an anti-vaxxer. She's nuts. The Green Party is essentially environmental socialism. I can't support it. Anything that's close to socialism, I can't support. It doesn't work. It's been tried. It's failed over and over. It's a dead issue. We need to get past the idea that people are going to live in some fluff bunny, share and share alike socialist utopia, because it's not going to happen. It's against human nature. It'd be nice if it could work. It can't. We've got to get past it. Hillary Clinton is threatening to start World War III over data leaks, so there's no way I can possibly support that. I'm anti-war. That's one of the biggest concerns in this election. Trump doesn't appear to want to attack anybody. That's odd, because supposedly he's a far-right Republican. Meanwhile, we've got Hillary, backs Iraq, backs the invasion of Afghanistan, backs overthrowing Gaddafi, backs airstrikes in Syria and running her dick through Iraq again after the invasion the first time. Now we want to go back in and fuck it up all over again on behalf of some oil barons or some retarded shit like that. She backs sending armaments to the FSA to keep the area inflamed, to make sure terrorist attacks keep happening. Now she wants to poke the bear and the dragon at the same time over the goddamn internet. So there's no way in hell I can support her. And as for Gary Johnson, I'm tired of this shit. His actions, while commendable in the reasoning behind why he would choose to do these things, it's obviously an election strategy. I understand that. I'm not faulting him for trying to grow the libertarian movement. And I hope the libertarian movement thrives and does well and becomes a true major party and supplants everything else. I hope it does. I hope we never have to suffer under statism again. But the way to do that is not to pander single-mindedly just to a bunch of hard leftists and try to fool them into thinking that hard leftism has something in common with libertarianism off of a handful of subjects like gay marriage or abortion that nobody's even talking about. And on immigration, I'll say this a step further. Beyond what Johnson is doing, pandering right now anyway, I am not an open borders libertarian, and people need to understand this. I do believe in border control. Johnson's stated position before this debacle was just fine with me. Do away with the quotas, institute a health check and a background check, and a person can come in. Make it simpler, make it cheaper. That'd be a good thing. And don't build the wall. Other than that part, I think there should be a wall along the southern border. Other than that, I was on board with it. I don't have a problem with immigrants. I don't have a problem with minorities. I don't have a problem with any of this nonsense. My concern is that, yeah, terrorists will try to infiltrate our porous border. Yeah, it becomes a perennial generational problem with, oh, what are we going to do about the millions and millions of illegals in this country? Well, if you had a wall and you weren't rewarding people for being here, you wouldn't have this problem. Stimson Mazzoli, as I pointed out over a year ago, would have worked if it had been paired with a border wall. And mainstream candidates for years and years have ranted and raved about how they're going to finally finish the wall. Bush wanted to do it. Clinton wanted to do it. Everybody wanted to do it. Nobody had a problem with the idea. Nobody cared until it was Trump that suggested it. Then he became Hitler. I find that very funny. And then I look at the media and how they treat this issue. It almost seems like they fawn over Gary Johnson a little bit too much for my taste. It's a little bit strange to me. Just a wee bit strange. I think that they're trying to denigrate Trump without realizing that Johnson is actually indeed targeting Hillary Clinton supporters. So go Gary, go as far as cracking apart Hillary's support and growing the movement. The problem is a lot of those people are going to either leave the Libertarian Party because they'll be blamed like Ralph Naderites for Clinton losing, so they'll migrate back out. Or they'll overthrow the libertarian structure of the Libertarian Party, and it will no longer be a Libertarian Party. It's going to be an issue. Now, in my endorsing Donald Trump, I must say, I do not agree with deporting anybody in this country who is not a criminal. I don't. I can't bring myself under my conscience as it is to really give a damn about this issue. We've got more pressing concerns. Stemming the flow of illegal immigrants into the country by building a border wall and taking care of those that are here that are committing crimes. That's all fine. In fact, it's a great idea. Beyond that, I don't care. I don't agree with Donald Trump, secondly, on E-Verify. I don't think it should be used. I don't think that we're going to need it. If his program on the border is going to work well, we won't need E-Verify because we won't have this problem. Plus, it's an intrusion into privacy. Number 3, I don't like his pandering to Christians, specifically evangelical Christians. That being said, I understand. It's like Johnson. I understand why he's doing it. He has to woo over the evangelicals in order to get enough votes to crush Hillary Clinton. I understand that. Yeah, beyond that, I don't have a problem with most of the things that Trump has said. I wish he'd come out and say and be honest and tell us, yeah, in fact, he doesn't care if people smoke marijuana, because he clearly feels that recreational pot's a states' rights issue. That's what I think I think he takes a hands-off approach to these things. I wish he would. I do admire about Trump that he hasn't been in politics before. I will say that, and I have admired that. That being said, I have to make sure that people understand this isn't going to change my analysis. If Trump is going to lose, I will tell you Trump is going to lose. Because the polling up before November will be fairly clear. If a week before the actual election happens, Trump is down in RCP by a significant number, he will lose the election, and it doesn't matter how much you like Trump or how much you disdain Hillary Clinton. Thankfully, I don't think that's likely. I've said for months now as well. Hillary Clinton's at a disadvantage. She's being pounded by leaks. She's considered vastly untrustworthy, even by her core electorate. Nobody is excited about her, and that's the biggest issue, turnout. Trump's fans are excited. They will walk through a minefield to cast their ballot for Donald Trump, at least his core supporters will. But there aren't that many really excited Hillary Clinton supporters. You get a rainy day in the polling location, some of these people won't show up. That's going to be perhaps Clinton's biggest problem. She probably needs an extra couple points in her lead going into the election, if she has a lead at all, just to pull it off. We got George Soros ranting about how Trump will win in a landslide in the general, but the Electoral College will vote against him. If that were to happen, it'd be civil war, so I don't think you want to go there, Mr. Soros. It's just not going to happen. I think that, by the way, sometimes when we look at like billionaires, people that are well-connected, when they say something stupid and off-the-cuff like that, we assume that it's part of some sinister cabal plan. I just assume that they're dumbasses, which he clearly is. He's clearly a corrupt dumbass. It's not going to happen, by the way. As far as rigging the election at that level, it would cause such utter chaos you've never seen before. So, yeah, I can no longer support Gary Johnson because the people he's bringing into the party at this point with the way he's acting aren't libertarians. Well, if they want to convert to libertarianism, if they want to educate themselves about what it actually means, become a libertarian, realize that that ideology is superior to the one that they were a member of before, by all means, become a libertarian. But if you think that the Libertarian Party is Bernie Sanders or something akin to it, you're gravely mistaken. You're better off voting for Trump out of spite for the fact that the DNC rigged things, because you're not going to find a home permanently in the libertarian movement, because the libertarian movement will chew you up and spit you back out for your economic views. Right now, people are focused on non-economics. Other than free trade deals, they don't really care about... have you heard much about taxation lately? Nobody gives a fuck about taxes. They care about terrorists coming across the border. They care about having someone in charge who's potentially trustworthy or can occasionally do the right thing. Another reason Clinton has a disadvantage. So yeah, I'm going to re-endorse Trump, and I'm sticking with it this time as well. Seeing Gary Johnson pander at that level, it's just a little bit jarring to me. I can't support it. I know why he's doing it, but I cannot support it. I can't support his candidacy if he's going to do that. Libertarianism is supposed to be above that. Well, if he's going to stoop to that level, there's no reason for me not to abandon the campaign and vote for somebody else. That's about all. Peace out.